remaining. So today's class we will taking the unit 6, history of Christian education in the medieval and Reformation period. Okay, history of Christian education in medieval and Reformation period. So here during the medieval and Reformation period, what is the condition of Christian education, or the how the what we can say, the position, or how the developments or the growth of Christian education during this period. Okay, so in this class we are going to discussing about that. In medieval period, mainly we need to understand about the monastic tradition, monastic and scholastic tradition of education. And another thing we have to learn, educational reforms of the Protestant Reformation. Okay, during the Protestant Reformation, what are the changes happen in Christian education, or how the influence in the society. And another thing, post-Reformation developments in Europe. Post-Reformation means after the Reformation. After the Reformation, what will happen? What are the changes happen, or what are the developments happen in the country of Europe, or in the European side. Okay, so these are the contents, or these are the things we are going to learn or understand in this class. Okay, in first session, monastic. Okay, monastic and scholastic traditions of education. Monastic and scholastic traditions of education. So during the medieval period, Christian education developed mainly through two important traditions. Okay, traditions. So during the medieval period, Christian education developed mainly through two important traditions that I already mentioned. That is monastic tradition and scholastic tradition. Monastic, MONASTIC, monastic tradition. And another tradition was scholastic tradition. SCHOLASTIC, scholastic tradition. So there are two important traditions in the medieval period. Okay, during the medieval period, there are two important traditions, monastic and scholastic. So in both traditions helped to preserve Christian faith, knowledge, and learning in Europe. Okay, so this both traditions helped to preserve Christian faith, knowledge, and learning in Europe or European country. So first of all, we need to understand what is monastic or monastic tradition. Okay, so this monastic and scholastic tradition coming under the medieval period. So we are going to learn about what happened, or what is the history of Christian education in the medieval and Reformation period. Okay. The monastic tradition is a system of Christian life. What is monastic? Maybe you might hear the name monastic. Monastic means monk. It is coming from the word is coming from the term monk. Monk means sannyasi, Malayalam. We call it sannyasi. Nuns. Okay. Okay, so the monastic tradition is a system of Christian life and education developed in monasteries. Okay, where monks and nuns lived a disciplined spiritual life, devoted to prayer, worship, study, and service. That means the monasteries means where monks and nuns. Monks and nuns means the one who not married and the one who is going for a devoted life. They are conducting or they are leading a devoted life. They are not entering into the marriage life. Okay, they are not entering a family life. They just go they just devoted themselves, and they just what we can meditating. Okay, they just spend their life as a monk, as a nun. Okay, so they live a disciplined spiritual life. How they are living a spiritual life? They are leading a spiritual life, devoted to prayer, study, and service. Okay, that is the importance of monasteries. Okay, monastic tradition. The word monastic comes from the word monk. Monk, M-O-N-K, monk. The word monastic, M-O-N-A-S-T-I-C. So monastic, the word monastic comes from the word monk. So in the medieval period, monasteries became important centers of Christian education. So this is one of the part of Christian education. That is the connection of monasteries. Okay, monasteries means ഈ മോങ്കുകളും നൺസും ഒക്കെ ലീവ് ചെയ്യുന്ന ഒരു ആശ്രമം, അതിനെ monasteries എന്ന് പറയാം നമ്മൾ ശരിക്കും. Okay, monasteries like a ashram. In Malayalam it's ashram, but it's a center, a Christian center, a devotion center, a devoted center. So these monasteries became important centers of Christian education and learning. So what is the importance of monasteries? In there, the people are going and they are learning. This is a learning center. Actually, it is a learning center. They are studying the Christian education, the value, the knowledge, the spiritual moral values, the spiritual values they are learning from the monasteries. Okay, so it is an important center of spiritual or learning center. It is a learning center actually. And monks taught the Bible. Monks taught the Bible, copied manuscriptures, preserved ancient books. They preserved ancient books and trained people in spiritual discipline. Okay, they are trained people in spiritual discipline. So, the important person, one of the important person, his name is Benedict of Nursia. Benedict of Nursia is considered an important leader of the monastic tradition. Monastic tradition ഒരു ഇമ്പോർട്ടന്റ് ഫിഗർ ആയിട്ട് ഒരു പേഴ്സൺ ആയിട്ട് അറിയപ്പെടുന്ന വ്യക്തിയാണ് ബെനഡിക്ട് ഓഫ് നഴ്സിയ. BENEDICT, ബെനഡിക്ട് ഓഫ് നഴ്സിയ, NURSIA, നഴ്സിയ. Benedict of Nursia is considered an important leader of the monastic tradition. Did you got it? Monastic tradition. He is one of the important person or leader of the monastic tradition. And he wrote the rule of Benedict. He wrote the rule of Benedict, which guide monastic life. He wrote a book, or he wrote a literature. It's called the Rule of Benedict. Rule of Benedict, which guided monastic life. Which guided monastic life. So the monastic tradition of education developed in monasteries. Monks live disciplined spiritual lives, devoted prayer. Okay, we said that. Monasteries became an important centers of learning after the fall of the Roman Empire. And we need to understand how the monasteries became an important spiritual center after the fall of Roman Empire. After the fall of Roman Empire. Okay, then only it became important center. It became means increased, or it became known as important centers of learning. Okay, learning centers. And now we are going to learn about the features of monastic education. Features of monastic education. Okay, features of monastic education. So we need to understand there are two traditions, monastic tradition and scholastic tradition. These are related to Christian education. So education, it's related to the education. When it happened, or monastic and scholastic tradition is coming under the which period? Medieval period. Okay, in the medieval and Reformation period, we need to understand the education system, how the education system. That's why we are going to learn the monastic tradition. Monastic tradition also is related to the education. That's why we are learning here. Okay, for your understanding. So features of monastic education. We need to understand what are the features, what are the nature or features of monastic education. First one, spiritual formation. Spiritual formation. So here, in spiritual formation mainly, the main aim was spiritual growth and holy living. So they are giving important or priority to spiritual growth and holy living. Yes, we can compare to, and it's like a Christian life also, right? So monastic give importance to a spiritual life, a holy living. So in our Bible also saying holy. You should be holy because I am holy. God is saying ഞാൻ വിശുദ്ധനാകിയാൽ നിങ്ങൾ വിശുദ്ധരായിരിക്കും. So holiness is important according to Bible. Bible also holiness is very important. Okay, so in Christian life also we are also following the concept of holiness. So here monastic tradition also saying, or they are also teaching them. So their main aim was leading them as like a spiritual growth and holy living. And another important, education focused on prayer. Education was focused on prayer, Bible reading, meditation and discipline. Meditation and discipline. Okay, so education focused on prayer, Bible reading, meditation, and discipline. So here monastic monk means it's a Christian monks, not like our Hindu sannyasi or Hindu monks. It's a Christian monks. That's we need to keep it in our mind. Okay, so here the nuns and monks. Okay, so they are giving importance to spiritual growth and holy living. Another thing, education focused on prayer, Bible reading, meditation and discipline. Another feature was preservation of knowledge. Preservation of knowledge. Preservation of knowledge. So how they are preserving the knowledge? How they are preserving or keeping the knowledge? So monks copied Bible, manuscripts and ancient books by hand. Monks copied Bible manuscripts and ancient books by their hands. Okay, their hand. So they preserved Christian teachings and classical literature. They are preserving Christian teachings and classical literature. Classical literature. So they are giving the priority of preservation of knowledge. That is another feature of monastic tradition, Christian or education tradition or monastic education. Okay, features of monastic education. Another feature of monastic education was simple and disciplined life. Simple and disciplined life. ഒരു disciplined life they are എന്താ പറയുക ക്രിയേറ്റ് ചെയ്യുന്നുണ്ട്. Okay, they are giving a simple and disciplined life. Simple and disciplined life. Simple and disciplined life. Okay. Students learned obedience. How they are leading a simple and disciplined life? So students learned obedience, humility, hard work, and moral life. Okay, so students learned obedience. Students learned obedience, humility, hard work, and moral life. Moral life. Moral life. Okay. And another feature was subjects taught. Subject taught. Or subjects, the main subjects. Okay, what are the main subject, the importance of subjects? Okay, first one, Bible. They are teaching Bible, theology, Latin, music, writing and reading. So Bible, theology, Latin, music, writing and reading. So these are the subjects they were taught to the students. Okay. And another feature was centers of learning. Centers of learning. So monasteries functioned as schools and libraries. Monasteries functioned as schools and libraries. So they worked as they acted as a library. Library means what we will see in the library. We can get many knowledge from in the library. Okay, from different books. So we will get many books, many knowledge, different information in the library. So how that means, like that they are acting like a libraries. So monasteries like a schools, and as they are school, they are acting like a school and libraries. From school, what we will get? Different information, different knowledge from different teachers. From library, we will get different books, different knowledge about the world. Okay, about different concepts. So same like they will get, the monasteries also do the same duty. Okay, from the school and the libraries. And Another thing, contributions. Okay, contributions of monastic education. The contributions of monastic education. Contributions of monastic education. So what are the contributions? Contributions, sambhavanagal. What they gave to the students or the society. Contributions of monastic education. Through the monastic education, what they contributed to the people or students. The people, okay. So first one, preserved Christian and ancient knowledge. Preserved Christian and ancient knowledge. So not only they preserved Christian education or Christian knowledge, as well as they given the ancient knowledge, the old knowledge, the ancient. What are the happen or what is the importance in the ancient period, ancient history. So they given the priority, the importance of ancient knowledge also. So in the one side, they given the worldly knowledge and as well as the secular and the spiritual knowledge. So it's like a two sides from one coin. Yeah. So they preserved the Christian and as well as ancient knowledge. And another contribution, promoted discipline and spirituality. They promoted spirituality and discipline. They promoted spirituality and discipline. And another contribution, established centers of learning in Europe. Established centers of learning. Centers of learning in Europe. യൂറോപ്പില് നിരവധി പഠന കേന്ദ്രങ്ങൾ, learning centers. They established centers of learning in Europe. And for every organization or for everything, there is positive side and there is a negative side. Right? So here also for monastic education also, we can find it not only positive side, we can find some of the limitation. They have these limitations. So the two limitation I will say, the first limitation was for monastic education, they were also they had limitations also. Some what we can, എന്താ പറയുക, പരിമിതികൾ, അവർക്കും ചില പരിമിതികൾ ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നു. So first one, education mainly for monks and clergy. So what happened there? They gave priorities only monks and clergy. So they will give mainly for the education to whom? Monks. Monks എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞ സന്യാസിയ. ഓക്കെ, ഈ ഡിവോട്ടൽ ലൈഫ് മീൻസ് ലീഡ് ചെയ്യുന്നവർ, അവർക്കാണ് കുറച്ചും കൂടെ ഒരു എന്താ പറയുക കൺസിഡർ ചെയ്തത്. എഡ്യൂക്കേഷൻ മെയിൻലി ഫോർ മോങ്സ് ആൻഡ് ക്ലർജി. വാട്ട് ആർ ദ ഫങ്ഷൻ ഓഫ് ക്ലർജി? ക്ലർജി മീൻസ് ദോസ് ആർ ദ ഹൈ പൊസിഷൻ ഇൻ ദ സൊസൈറ്റി. They are leading the high position in the society. In the church, they have a priority. They have important place in the church. So they gave a mainly education mainly clergies and monks. And another limitation of monastic education was less focus on science and public education. Less focus on science and public education or education. So these are the main limitation of monastic education. Okay, so monastic education or monastic tradition comes under the medieval period. Okay, that we need to understand. And next, another tradition or another educations, scholastic. Scholastic tradition of education. Scholastic tradition of education. SCHOLASTIC. Scholastic tradition of education. So, scholasticism. Oh, please mute the mics. So, scholasticism means, we need to understand the term meaning. Okay, I will say the term meaning and we will. Okay, scholasticism means, so scholasticism comes from the Latin word. Okay, the term scholasticism comes from the Latin word. Latin word. Scholasticus. Scholasticus. SCOLASTICISM. Scholasticism. Sorry. Scholasticism comes from the Latin word scholasticus. Sorry, scholasticus. SCHOLASTICUS. Got it? Any doubt? Scholasticism comes from the Latin word scholasticus. 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 Okay, which means teacher or scholar. Panditan. Okay, teacher or scholar. So, scholasticism refers to a method of learning. It's a method of learning. Actually, it's a method of learning and teaching used in medieval schools and universities. Okay, so it's simplified. It's very clearly we can understand. So, scholasticism refers to a method of learning and teaching. It's a method of learning and teaching. So, it's used in medieval schools and universities. So it's a which period? So scholasticism and monasticism comes under the medieval period. So in the medieval period, it's a method of teaching and learning. Okay, it's a method of learning and teaching or teaching and learning. Okay. So scholasticism was a medieval method of teaching that used logic and reason to explain Christian faith. So they used logic and reason to explain Christian faith. What is reasoning? So logic and reason, they used logic and reason. Reasoning means thinking, rethinking. So they need to think. So the one person, if they are learning or teaching, they need to think about that concept. Okay, what they are learning, what they are teaching, they need to think. The reasoning capacity we need to maintain. So the scholasticism, the tradition of scholasticism or scholastic education mainly give the logic and reason to explain Christian faith. And it developed mainly in cathedral schools and universities. It's mainly or developed mainly in cathedral schools and universities. Cathedral school means old, okay, ancient times. It's schools called cathedral schools. And universities during the 11th to 13th centuries. Which centuries? 11th to 13th century. Approximately, we can say it 11th to 13th centuries. So, the features of scholastic education, main features of this scholastic education was, first one, faith and reason. Faith and reason. So, what is faith and reason? So, they tried to harmonize faith with human reason. They tried to harmonize faith with human reason and philosophy. They tried to harmonize. 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 Faith with human reason and philosophy. And another feature was method of debate. Method of debate. So teachers used questions, discussions, arguments, and logic and analysis. So how they used the methods of debating? Through the questions, through the discussions, okay, arguments. So they raised the questions. The teachers used questions. The teachers raised questions to the students. So it will help them to think about that. So the questions, discussions, arguments, logical analysis. Okay, so first one, faith and reason. Second one, method of debate. So harmonized faith means it's like a not hard. It's a form of means hardship. It's like a lightning. Harmonize it. So very softly, very what we can say, very fellowship mind. It's a harmonized faith with the human reason and philosophy. Another thing, method of debate, and a third feature of university system. Third feature of scholastic education was university system. So scholastic education helped the growth of medieval universities. Scholastic education helped the growth of medieval universities. So during the medieval period, many universities are increased or developed in this through the scholastic education system. So the cathedral school, we already said, cathedral schools and universities mainly improved in this time. And another, the subject, mainly they taught the subjects are theology, philosophy, logic, grammar, and law. About laws. So they taught about theology, philosophy, logic, grammar, and laws. Okay. Grammar and laws. Grammar and laws. Grammar and laws. So they're teaching about theology. Theology means study about God. So theology and philosophy, logic, grammar, and law. An important scholar was during the time or scholastic tradition, scholastic education. The main scholar was Thomas Aquinas. Thomas Aquinas. He was the greatest scholastic theologian. He was not only a scholar, he was a theologian. Thomas Aquinas. He wrote Summa Theologica. Okay, one of his literature. Okay, Summa Theologica. So he combined Christian theology with the philosophy of Aristotle. He combined Christian theology with the philosophy of Aristotle. Aristotle.
The name of the book?
Summa Theologica. SUMMA. SUMMA. THEOLOGICA. Summa Theologica. So these are the so he's an important scholar or teacher in that period. Okay, Thomas Aquinas. And the contributions of scholastic education. The main contributions was scholastic education developed a systematic theology. So first contribution was they developed a systematic theology. Systematic theology. And another contribution, they encouraged intellectual thinking and reasoning. Intellectual thinking and reasoning. Intellectual thinking and reasoning. They helped establish universities. I will come there, okay? So, the main contribution developed systematic theology. Scholastic education encouraged intellectual thinking and reasoning. And they helped establish universities. So, why they encouraged intellectual thinking? What is intellectual thinking and reasoning? Reasoning means also thinking. Okay. So, they developed a systematic theology. So, the scholar was Thomas Aquinas. His main work is Summa Theology. That's not much important about, but little you need to understand the basic knowledge of Thomas Aquinas. Okay, he's one of the theologian and a philosopher of history. Okay, history. The person, his name Thomas Aquinas, and in his Summa Theology mainly is the famous book of Thomas Aquinas. It's a very famous book of Thomas Aquinas. Maybe you will look it in the Google also if you want to understand what is this, but that is not much more important in this this syllabus. That's why I just only give that name only. Summa means a summary. Okay, summa means a summary only. That word means summa. That word meaning summary. And Summa Theology means summary of theology. Actually, it's a summary of theology. Okay, he gave the name Summa Theologica. So it means summary of theology. Okay. So it was written to explain Christian theology. Actually, the main content of the Summa Theology means mainly to explain the Christian theology in a systematic and logical way. Christian theology in a systematic and a logical way. Okay. So, and in his book, he mainly gave focus or priority to the God and creation. He is talking about the first part, the God and creation, and mainly they discuss existence and the nature of God, Trinity, angels, creation of the world. In the Summa Theology, he mainly give importance of God and creation. Okay, if we divide the book in the two parts, the first part means the first part he mainly give priority to talking about God and creation. Okay, in the summary of theology or Summa Theologica in his work, he mainly give the importance of means God and creation. Okay, in there, mainly he talking about the existence of means the nature of God. Okay, and angels and the Trinity, creation of the world, human beings. Okay, that is the second part. In that book, second part is talking about means mainly human life and morality. Human life and morality. Human life and morality. Their human actions, sin, virtue, law, grace, happiness, faith, hope, and love. So these are the main things only about that book. Okay, Thomas Aquinas. So what are the contributions of scholastic education? What are the contributions? Developed systematic theology, encouraged intellectual thinking and reasoning, and another thing, helped establish universities. Okay, so monastic tradition also helped to bring means some new universities. Okay, and same thing scholastic tradition also did. Okay, they also gave priority to or developed universities. And here also some are the limitation also in scholastic tradition of education also have had some limitations. Okay, the first limitation was too much dependence on logic and debate. Scholastic education was giving, it is one of their negative side. A limitation was they gave priority to what mostly they gave importance to or they gave too much dependence or they gave too much importance to what logic and debate. Logic and debate, scholars have that mind of that kind of mind. That is the difference of scholars and monks. Scholars means they are very bujis because they are thinking more, means reasoning, they have the reasoning capacity. So that's a scholastic period, scholastic tradition. Scholars, mainly they are scholars are in that period or in that tradition. Okay, so the teachers or the learners are mainly scholars, they know everything. Okay, so that debate are very much important, so they gave priority to debate and arguments, logical convince. Okay, logical things. So it's a very limitation, that is a very negative side of the scholastic education system. Okay, and another limitation was there's sometimes less attention to personal spirituality. So sometimes they give a less attention to personal spirituality. Personal spirituality. വ്യക്തിപരമായ ആത്മീക ജീവിതത്തിന് എന്ത് കൊടുത്തു? പ്രാധാന്യം കുറച്ചു കൊടുത്തു. So they gave less attention to personal spirituality. So commonly we can say about spirituality, we can give class to them, we can teach them, but a monk or a teacher need to personally influence each students, means influence the person. Okay, each students or person or monk, anybody. So we need to, that is also a responsibility of his teacher. Okay, so personal attention or personal spirituality, they gave only less priority to the personal spirituality. Okay, so in this monastic tradition and scholastic tradition, okay, tradition means it's an education system of tradition. Okay, we can call it. So the monastic tradition emphasized spirituality. So what is the difference? Now I am telling the difference. Okay, the monastic tradition emphasized spirituality, discipline, and preservation of knowledge, while the scholastic tradition emphasized, what are the areas? Logic, reason, and systematic theology. So both have different side. Okay, so one is give emphasis to spirituality, discipline, and preservation of knowledge. Another, while the scholastic tradition is given importance to reasoning, logic. Okay, so systematic theology. So both traditions, but we need to understand the both traditions or both traditions of education played a major role in the development of Christian education. Okay, Christian education and medieval learning. Okay, medieval learning. Okay, so monastic tradition of education and scholastic tradition of education. Okay, so both have different sides and different contributions for the education system, Christian education system, and both have limitations, both have good contribution, good side, and in the medieval period. So, but we need to understand one thing: they both they gave means a good role, or they played a vital role in the Christian education system. Okay, the major role in the development of Christian education. Okay, development of Christian education. Okay, these are the one area of in this medieval and Reformation period. Okay, in the syllabus. In another area, so next we are going to look at the next area. The next area was educational reforms of the Protestant Reformation. Educational reforms of the Protestant Reformation. That is the next area. Okay. Educational reforms of the Protestant Reformation. Protestant Reformation. Educational reforms of the Protestant Reformation. That means by hearing this headings, maybe you might hear think, oh, it's very big concept. But just think about in the during the Protestant Reformation period. Okay, Protestant Reformation period. What are the reforms happen in the education system? That's why education reforms in the Protestant Reformation. Okay, during the Protestant Reformation, what are the reforms? Reform means what are the changes? Reforms means changes. What are the changes happen in the education system? That we are going to look in the second. Means you can give the part B or something, the unit second bar. So educational reforms of the Protestant Reformation. You know the Protestant Reformation, when it happened? Which century?
18th.
No, it is 16th century. 16th century. Okay. So Protestant Reformation happened 16th century. Okay. Yeah, it's continues also in 17th, 18th also continuing, but 16th century is a beginning period of Protestant Reformation. Okay. So the Protestant Reformation of the 16th century brought major changes, not only in the church, but also in education. Yes. So during the 16th century, many changes happen in the churches. Okay, that is the important. The churches also many things are happening, especially because of this reformation. Okay, in the Europe. And you know, not only in the church, in the education system also some of the reforms happened. Okay, that we are going to look. So reforms believed that every Christian should know the Bible personally and live according to God's word. Therefore, education became very important during the Reformation period. So they understood that Christian education is reformers believed that reformers believed that every Christian should know the Bible personally. So they need to live according to the Bible. So that therefore education became very important during this period, during the Reformation period. And we need to understand what is the Reformation. What is the term Reformation? Reformation was a movement. It is a movement. Yes, it's a movement. It's a movement aimed at reforming. Reforming means changing. I already said changing and improving. That is a reformation. So through the reformation, what is happening in a society or in a country? Changes will happen. Improvement will happen. Development happen. So the reformation was a movement aimed at. I just given the meaning. Okay. Only just simplifying the what is reformation for your understanding. So the Reformation was a movement aimed at reforming the practices of Western Christian Church, especially the Roman Catholic Church. Okay. So, the main key figure of the reformer. Okay, mainly we just hearing, we might hear about in history, the main reformer of Martin Luther. Okay, he's one of the reformer. Okay, Martin, key figure. He was one of the key figure of reformer, Martin Luther. Martin Luther from German. He was a German person. He was a German monk who is often credited with starting the Reformation in 1517 by publishing his 95 Theses, criticizing church practices like the sale of indulgences. Okay, that's not much important, but for example, I am just giving his name. Okay, Martin Luther. Martin Luther was a very famous person in the Reformer. Okay, he was one of the famous reformer. He was from where? German. He was a German monk, and very famous. His very famous reformation was which happened in the German. It was a 95. He established or he published a 95 thesis. Okay, that is for edition of the churches, some of the customs and all. So he gave a church practices for the editions of church practices so that he prepared a 95 thesis and he pasted that in front of the church. That is also very famous, very argumented issue. That is after that it's very very big event. Okay. And the main reformers were I just given the main reformers name. First one, Martin Luther, John Calvin, and another person, Ulrich Zwingli. So Martin Luther, John Calvin, Ulrich Zwingli. John Calvin, Ulrich, 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 Zwingli, Zwingli. Ulrich Zwingli. Okay, 3%. There are 3 main reformers. Okay, there were main reformers. You have to remember these names. Okay, these are the main reformers: Martin Luther, John Calvin, Ulrich Zwingli. I will just give. I will just saying. I will just give some of the important information about them. Okay, no need. We will not go very explanation. So Martin Luther was from Germany. Okay, he was born in Germany in 1483, and he was a monk. Not only monk, theologian. He was a monk, theologian, and professor. He was a monk, theologian, and professor. Luther started the Protestant Reformation in 1570 by publishing 95 theses criticizing abuses in the Roman Catholic Church. Actually, his 95 theses for criticizing Roman Catholic Church, because he did not like some of the customs, some of the practice inside the church. So that he prepared a 95 theses. It included some of the addition or need to improve the church practices. So that he prepared a 95 theses. Okay, that is very ഭയങ്കര ശ്രദ്ധേയമായ ഒന്നാണ് അദ്ദേഹത്തിന്റെ 95 thesis അടങ്ങിയ ഒരു വലിയ ബുക്ക്ലേറ്റ്. So he pasted in front of the church also. Or that is also no need to go further about that, or just for your understanding, I'm just giving. And he thought that salvation comes through faith alone. That is his main teaching. He taught that salvation comes through faith alone, and that the Bible is the highest authority for Christians. So Bible is the highest authority of teaching. He proclaimed that. And he translated the Bible into German so ordinary people could read it. That is a very important thing he did for the Germans. What he did? He translated the Bible into German language so that the people could read it, understand it. Okay. And his contribution was founder of the Lutheran Church. He was founded the Lutheran Church. So first contribution of Martin Luther, founder of the Lutheran Church. Another thing, promoted education and Bible reading for all people. Okay. He promoted education and Bible reading. Okay. And another person, John Calvin. Okay. Second person, John Calvin. So he was from France. John Calvin born in France. And he was a theologian and pastor. He was a theologian and pastor, John Calvin. Calvin became an important leader of the Reformation in Geneva, Switzerland. Okay, Geneva and Switzerland. Okay, so he was a pastor and a theologian. He emphasized the sovereignty of God. John Calvin emphasized the sovereignty of God, discipline, and holy living. What he emphasized? Sovereignty of God, discipline, and holy living. Holy living. His famous book was Institutes of the Christian Religion. Institutes of the Christian Religion. Whose famous book? Whose famous book, Binoy? Yes, John Calvin. Yes. And his... Okay. If you are saying also, I can understand. Unmuted also, no problem. Okay. I understood. Okay. Founder of the Reformed or Calvinist. So, okay, his one of the contribution of the society was founder of the Reformed or Calvinist tradition. He was Reformed or he was founder of Calvinist tradition or Reformed tradition. Next person, Ulrich Zwingli. Ulrich Zwingli. So, he was born in Switzerland in 1484. So, he was a priest and a reformer in Zurich, the place Zurich. Switzerland or place in Zurich. 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 So, he was born in Switzerland. I'm telling about Ulrich Zwingli. He was born in Switzerland and he was a priest and a reformer in Zurich. Zwingli preached directly from the Bible. So he preached directly from the Bible and opposed the practices he believed were not biblical. So simply if we can say he preached directly from the Bible. So he preached directly from the Bible, and one thing he did, he opposed practices. He opposed practices which is not in the Bible. He opposed some practices which is not from the Bible or is not according to the biblical laws. So he believed were not in biblical. So he worked to reform worship and church practices. What he did? He worked to reform. He worked to reform worship. He worked to reform worship and church practices. Okay. And next thing. Actually, this unit is little bit large. Actually, otherwise I can take it in June 2 unit, but this unit is little more large. Okay. And major educational reforms of the Protestant Reformation. Now we will look at what are the major educational reforms happen in the Protestant Reformation period. Okay. Major educational reforms. Major educational reforms of the Protestant Reformation. One more part also is there. Then only this unit will be finished. Okay. So I want to give that also. Time is going very fastly, but I need to give. Okay. Major educational reforms of the, you can give the heading, major educational reforms of the Protestant Reformation. First one, education for all. Education for all. Education for all. This also, I think, this is completed. Okay. And first one, now we will talk about the major educational reforms. Okay. Educational reforms means educational changes. When the Protestant Reformation time. Okay. First one, education for all. So before the Reformation, education was mainly limited to clergy and upper classes. Okay, before the Reformation, what is happening in the society? Education was mainly limited to clergy and high class or upper classes. Only they can only get education. Okay, that is a system. And Protestant reformers believed that all people should receive education. That is the importance of Protestant Reformation. So Protestant reformers like Martin Luther, John Calvin, so they think that they believed that all people should receive education. So education is for all people. It's not limited with any some of the group. It's not limited with a particular group or any particular group. So education is for everyone. It's equal concept. Equality. So the Protestant reformers, what they did, they we can call it, they conducted a equality. They emphasized the equality in education. Okay, so education for all. So what is in the time, the importance is education became available to ordinary people. So after the Reformation happening, so the Protestant reformers give education became available to ordinary people. Another thing happened, schools were opened for boys and girls. Okay. So after the Reformation, what happened? Schools were opened for boys and girls. The important things I'm telling. Okay. Then public education was encouraged. Martin Luther strongly supported compulsory education for children. Yes, Martin Luther is one of the reformer. So Martin Luther strongly supported what? Compulsory education. Okay. So what are the things happen because of the Protestant Reformation or Reformation? Education became available for ordinary people. Schools were opened for boys and girls. Public education was encouraged. Martin Luther strongly supported compulsory education for children. Another thing, another reformation was happened. Another education reform is importance of Bible reading. Okay, importance of Bible reading. Did you understand what I'm now telling? The title, education reforms of the Protestant Reformation. Okay. So second one, importance of the Bible reading. The reformers taught that every believer should read and understand the Bible personally. Excuse me. So importance of Bible reading. Okay, they gave importance to Bible reading. Okay, Bible reading. So the reformers taught that every believer should read and understand the Bible personally. So they gave a Bible translation into local language. Increased. So Bible translation to local language increased. Reading and literacy became important. Christians were encouraged to study scripture directly. For example, means Martin Luther translated the Bible into German. I already said that. So he translated the Bible into German language. For what? For understanding, for easily understand the local people, so ordinary people. Okay. So the reforms happened the time. So importance of Bible reading, so that they gave a priority to the translation of the Bible, and what local language reading and literacy became important. Okay, these are the things happened that during time. Third reforms happened. Use of mother tongue. Use of mother tongue. Before the Reformation, education and worship were mainly in Latin. Before the education, only in Latin language. Okay, worship, education system, worship system is mainly conducted in Latin language. But reformers introduced, the Protestant reformers introduced local languages in schools and churches. So they introduced the local languages in schools and churches. So what happened? The result, what is the result of that? Common people could understand lesson easily. So when they gave priority to local language, common people could understand lesson easily. Growth of vernacular literature, okay, growth of vernacular literature and literacy, and better communication of Christian teaching. So the better communication is developed. Better communication of Christian teaching is developed. Okay, because of the mother tongue, using of the mother tongue. And another thing, catechism instruction. Catechism means teaching instruction. Okay. Catechism instruction. Reformers used the catechism to teach Christian doctrine systematically. Catechism means oral teaching. Okay, already we gone through that catechism and all, like catechetical teaching and all. So the catechism instruction means reformers used the catechetical or catechism to teach Christian doctrine systematically. And Martin Luther wrote small catechism and large catechism. Small catechism, large catechism means wrote by Martin Luther. And this book mainly taught the 10 Commandments, Lord's Prayer, Apostles' Creed, and sacraments. Okay, these are the main content of this small catechism and large catechism of Martin Luther. Okay, his books. Okay, he wrote a small catechism, large catechism. In this catechism, mainly the content was 10 Commandments, Lord's Prayer, Apostle Creed, and sacraments. And another reform was role of parents and family. Another means education reform was role of parents and family. Education reform. Okay, in the Protestant Reformation period. Protestant Reformation. Role of parents and family. The Reformation emphasized that parents should teach Christian faith at home. What they emphasized? The parents should teach Christian faith at home. So the homely teaching, or what we can വീട്ടിൽ തന്നെ പഠിപ്പിക്കുക എന്നുള്ള ഒരു കൺസെപ്റ്റിന് അവർ ഇമ്പോർട്ടന്റ് കൊടുത്തു. So role of parents and family, parents teaching. Okay. So importance, family became a center of Christian education. So family became a center of Christian education during the Protestant Reformation time. Why this happened? Because of the reformers. So parents were considered responsible for children's spiritual training. So parents were considered responsible for children's spiritual training. So another educational reform was establishment of schools and universities. So Protestant reformers established many schools, colleges, seminaries. So contribution, teachers training improved, university promoted theology, liberal arts, education became more organized. So John Calvin established an education institution in Geneva. So these are the things happened through the establishment of schools and universities. Okay, you can write it because of that by the headings also. You can write. And another reform was moral and spiritual education. There also education was not only intellectual but also moral and spiritual. So spirituality. So they gave priority to spirituality and moral values. Okay, education was not only intellectual but also moral and spiritual. Moral and spiritual education. Aim to develop faithful and disciplined Christians to build a society based on Christian value. So that is enough. Okay, no need to worry. If you want, you can write the heading. This is a little. If you want, you can point out the main thing. Contributions. Okay. Now just we will talk the contribution and we will move to this next post-reformation developments and we will close the class. Okay. So just understand the contribution. Now we will understand the contributions of reformation, educational reformers. Contribution of reformation, educational reforms. So or you can write it educational reforms. Okay, that is enough. Educational reforms. Through the reforms. No need to confuse contributions. Their contributions. Okay. For what? Education system. Okay, in the education reformsil വരുത്തിയ contribution എന്തൊക്കെയാണെന്ന് പറയാൻ പോകുന്നത്. Okay, reform, educational reforms. Okay, contribution of educational reforms. That means contribution of reformation to the educational reform. Okay, if completely, if you can say, you can write it. But when you means for your understanding, you can write it. Okay, in first one, first contribution of the reformers, increased literacy. Increased literacy among common people. Increased literacy among common people. Before we said the what are the deformation happened എന്നുള്ളതാണ് നമ്മൾ പറഞ്ഞത്. Education for all and all the things. Okay, so this is the contribution. Through this, what they contributed. Okay, first, increase literacy among common people. Second, encourage Bible-centered education. Encourage Bible-centered education. Third, promoted public and universal education. Fourth, improved women's education. And fifth, strengthened moral and spiritual teaching. Moral and spiritual teaching. Okay, that's enough. Okay, these are the importance in these area we need to understand. And this is the Reformation period. These all things comes under the Reformation time, Protestant Reformation time. What are the reforms or the changes happen in the education system? These only we discuss in the second part. Okay, first part what we discussed, monastic and the scholastic education system. Okay, we studied monastic and scholastic tradition system, tradition of education. And second part what we discussed up to this time, we know, brother. Second part. Please unmute.
Major education reforms.
Yeah, or we can education reforms of Protestant Reformation. Okay, educational reforms of the Protestant Reformation. Okay, first part, in medieval and Reformation period, first part what we learned. Yeah, James, brother, Arjun, Austin, Salim, they are not at all active. Yeah, first part, I already said, first part what we learned today. Yeah, monastic and scholastic. Yeah, scholastic tradition of education in the medieval time. Okay, in the medieval period. In today, this unit mainly considered medieval and Reformation period. That you have to understand. I hope you will got it. Medieval and Reformation period, what are the things happen in the education system? So medieval period, what happened? Monastic tradition and scholastic tradition of education. Second part, we learned educational reforms in the Protestant Reformation time. Did you got it? Then third part. Now we are going to learn third part. Third part means post-Reformation development. What is post-Reformation? Post-Reformation. Arjun, brother Arjun. Yeah, Johanan uncle. Anybody can say. What is post-Reformation?
Yeah, after the scholastic period.
Not scholastic. After the Reformation.
Yeah, after the Reformation. Yeah.
Yes, correct. So, post-Reformation, post, you have to understand pre and post. Pre means before. Post means after. Okay, the term you need to understand. No need to, don't be confused. Pre and post. Pre means before. മുമ്പുണ്ടായിരുന്ന കാര്യത്തെ പറ്റി പറയാനാണ് പ്രീ റിഫോർമേഷൻ എന്നൊക്കെ യൂസ് ചെയ്യുന്നത്. പ്രീ റിഫോർമേഷൻ മീൻസ് റിഫോർമേഷന് മുമ്പ്, ബിഫോർ ദ റിഫോർമേഷൻ ടൈം. Post reformation means after the reformation. Okay, did you got it? Okay, so now we are going to third part is post reformation developments in Europe. What are the things happened after the reformation in the Europe? What are the changes? Okay, first one, or the term post-reformation developments in Europe refers to the major religious, educational, political, and social changes that took place in Europe after the Protestant Reformation of the 16th century. Yes, 16ാം നൂറ്റാണ്ടില് എന്താ പ്രൊട്ടസ്റ്റന്റ് റിഫോർമേഷൻ യൂറോപ്പിൽ നടന്ന അതിനുശേഷം എന്തൊക്കെയാ സംഭവിച്ചത്? ഏതൊക്കെ മേഖലകളിലാ? എഡ്യൂക്കേഷൻ, പൊളിറ്റിക്കൽ, സോഷ്യൽ ചേഞ്ച്, ഓക്കെ, മേജർ റിലീജിയസ്, ഈ ഏരിയകളിലൊക്കെ എന്തൊക്കെ ചേഞ്ച് ആണ് ആഫ്റ്റർ ദ 16th century, വാട്ട് എവർ ദ ഹാപ്പനിങ്. ഓക്കെ, in Europe, major religious, educational, political, and social changes that took place in Europe after the Protestant Reformation of the 16th century. Okay, did you got it? After the Reformation led by reformers like Martin Luther and John Calvin, Europe experienced many important developments in church life and society. So, we have to understand, in the church life and society, many important experience or changes, developments happen. Europe experienced many important developments in church life and society. Okay. Okay, I can write major post-reformation developments. Major post-reformation developments. First one, rise of Protestant churches. Okay, after the Reformation, what happened? Rise of Protestant churches. The Reformation led to the formation of different Protestant denominations. Did you got it? The Reformation led to the formation of രൂപവൽക്കരണം നടത്തി. Okay, the Reformation എന്ത് ചെയ്തു? എന്തിലേക്ക് വഴി നടത്തി? എന്തിന്റെ ഫോർമേഷനിലേക്ക് കൊണ്ടുവന്നു? different Protestant denominations. That means churches. Lutheran Church. Okay, Lutheran Church, Reformed Church, Anglican Church, Presbyterian Church. What are the church names? Lutheran Church, Reformed Church, Anglican Church, and Presbyterian Church established because of the Reformation. This ended the religious unity of Western Europe under the Roman Catholic Church. Okay, so this ended the religious unity of Western Europe. Okay, Western പാശ്ചാത്യ യൂറോപ്പിന്റെ റിലീജിയസ് യൂണിറ്റി എന്ത് ചെയ്തു? ഇത് റോമൻ കാത്തലിക്കിന്റെ മീൻസ് അണ്ടറിൽ ഉണ്ടായിരുന്ന പാശ്ചാത്യ പാശ്ചാത്യ മതത്തിന്റെ ആ ഒരു യൂണിറ്റിയെ തന്നെ ഇത് ബാധിച്ചു. കാരണം അത് അവസാനിപ്പിച്ചു. കാരണം ഡിഫറെന്റ് ചർച്ച് റൈസായി. റൈസ് ഓഫ് പ്രൊട്ടസ്റ്റന്റ് ചർച്ചസ്. ഓക്കെ, റൈസ് ഓഫ് ഡിഫറെന്റ് പ്രൊട്ടസ്റ്റന്റ് ഡിനോമിനേഷൻ വളർന്നത് കൂടി because means for your little more understanding, I'm just saying about in between Malayalam. So it's for clarify. Okay, so the different Protestant reform churches are developed. So the unity among the religious groups centered under the Roman Catholic Church. Okay, and second things happened. Post-Reformation developments. So the second development was Catholic counter-reformation happened. Catholic counter-reformation. Did you understand the counter-reformation? Okay, I will tell. Counter-reformation means the reformation which happened under, or means what we can say, it's inside the Catholic Church. കത്തോലിക്ക അഥവാ കാത്തലിക് ചർച്ചിന്റെ അകത്ത് തന്നെ ചില റിഫോർമേഷൻ നടക്കുക. അതിനെ കൗണ്ടർ റിഫോർമേഷൻ എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞ കേട്ടോ. The counter reformation, which means the reformation which happened inside the Catholic denomination or Catholic Church. So the Roman Catholic Church responded to the Protestant Reformation through the counter reformation. Important features in there. Okay, Catholic counter reformation, important features I will say. Reform within the Catholic Church. Yes, reform within the Catholic Church. That is we call the counter reformation. And strengthening church discipline. Strengthening church discipline. Okay, Catholic counter reformation at the കാര്യങ്ങളാ reform within the Catholic Church. Second, strengthening church discipline, missionary activities, and another thing, improvement in clergy education. Improvement in clergy education. Okay. In there, important event also happened in the counter-reformation time. So in the Catholic counter-reformation, one important event happened that is called the Council of Trent. Council of Trent in 1545 to 1563. In Council of Trent happened which in the year of 1545 to 1563. I will tell what is Council of Trent. Okay, the Council of Trent was an important meeting of leaders of the Roman Catholic Church held between 1545 and 1563 in the city of Trent in Italy. ഇറ്റലിയിലെ ട്രെൻഡ് എന്ന് പറയുന്ന TERENT. Okay, Trent. That is called the Council of Trent. അവിടെ വെച്ചിട്ട് ഒരു കാത്തലിക് ചർച്ച് കൂടിയിട്ടുള്ള ഒരു മീറ്റിംഗ് കണ്ടക്ട് ചെയ്യാണ്. ഓക്കെ, ദ കൗൺസിൽ ഓഫ് ട്രെന്റ് വാസ് ആൻ ഇമ്പോർട്ടന്റ് മീറ്റിംഗ് ഓഫ് ലീഡേഴ്സ് ഓഫ് ദ റോമൻ കാത്തലിക് ചർച്ച് ഇൻ ദ സിറ്റി ഓഫ് ട്രെന്റ് ഇൻ ഇറ്റലി. ഇറ്റലിയിലുള്ള ട്രെന്റ് എന്ന പ്ലേസിൽ റോമൻ കാത്തലിക് ചർച്ചിന്റെ ഒരു ഗ്യാതറിംഗ്സ്, ഓക്കെ, ഒരു മീറ്റിംഗ് അവർ കണ്ടക്ട് ചെയ്തു. ഓക്കെ, ഇറ്റ് വാസ് കോൾഡ് ബൈ ദ പോപ്പ് ആസ് എ റെസ്പോൺസ് ടു ദ പ്രൊട്ടസ്റ്റന്റ് റിഫോർമേഷൻ സ്റ്റാർട്ടഡ് ബൈ റിഫോമേഴ്സ് ലൈക്ക് മാർട്ടിൻ ലൂതർ. So it was called by the Pope as a response to the Protestant Reformation started by reformers like Martin Luther. The council became the central event of the Catholic Counter-Reformation. So Catholic Counter-Reformation ഒരു സെൻട്രൽ ഇവന്റ് ആണ് ഈ കൗൺസിൽ ഓഫ് ട്രെൻഡ് എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് കേട്ടോ. ഒരു ഇമ്പോർട്ടന്റ്, ഈ കാത്തലിക് മീൻസ് കൗണ്ടർ റിഫോർമേഷന്റെ ഒരു ഇമ്പോർട്ടന്റ് ഈവന്റ് ആണ് ശരിക്കും കൗൺസിൽ ഓഫ് ട്രെൻഡ്. അതായത് കൗൺസിൽ ഓഫ് ട്രെന്റിനകത്ത് ആരെ വിളിക്കുക? പോപ്പിന്റെ നേതൃത്വത്തിൽ എന്ത് ചെയ്യാം? കാത്തലിക് ചർച്ചിന്റെ ഒരു കൂട്ടായ്മ അവര് ട്രെൻഡ് എന്ന ഇറ്റലിയിലെ സ്ഥലത്ത് കൂടുകയാണ്. ഓക്കെ, ആൻഡ് ഇറ്റ് വാസ് കോൾഡ് ബൈ ദ പോപ്പ്. That's why it was called by the Pope as a response to the Protestant Reformation started by reformers. Protestant Reformation started by reformers like Martin Luther. So Martin Luther also take a control, or he was a leader. Okay, so the council became the central event of the Catholic Counter-Reformation. Okay, why this council really happened? Through that, some of the changes needed. Catholic Church needed some of the changes. So that they gathering, so that they conducted a trend. Okay, they conducted a council. It is called the Council of Trent. Why Council of Trent? It is called the Council of Trent because the place name. Okay, ആ പ്ലേസ് നെയിം വെച്ചിട്ട് ഇട്ടെന്നേ ഉള്ളൂ, കൗൺസിൽ ഓഫ് ട്രെന്റ് എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞതേ ഉള്ളൂ. No need to think much. Okay, Council of Trent means it was conducted in the place. Location is Trent. Trent എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞ സ്ഥലത്താണ് അത് സമ്മേളിച്ചത്. That was, it is called Trent. Okay, and എന്താണ് ഈ കൗൺസിലിന്റെ പർപ്പസ് എന്നാണ് കൂടി ജസ്റ്റ് പറയാം. Okay, I will tell what is the purpose of this Trent. Okay, when it happened, sorry, why it is happened, or where, means under where Catholic
response to the Martin Luther's reforms.
Yes, okay. I'm telling the important event Council of Trent happened in the which means post Reformation developments. Now I am telling the Reformation developments. In second one, Catholic Counter Reformation അത് വരുന്ന ഒരു കാര്യമാണിത് കേട്ടോ. ഇത് തേർഡ് വൺ അല്ല, നിങ്ങൾ അതിനകത്ത് തന്നെ പോകണം, മനസ്സിലാക്കി പോവാ. കാത്തലിക് കൗണ്ടർ റിഫോർമേഷന്റെ അകത്ത് വരികയാണ്. under that this trend also coming. Okay, second development. So what is the purpose of this council? The Council of Trent was organized to reform abuses within the Catholic churches. Okay, reform abuses within the Catholic Church. So Council of Trent is related to Catholic Counter Reformation. That we don't forget that. Okay, Catholic Counter Reformation ന്റെ ഭാഗമായിട്ടാണ് എന്ത് വന്നത്? ചോദിച്ചാൽ പറയണം. Counter of Reformation. Yes, Council of Trent. Did you got it? Vinay brother? Any doubt? Okay, is it okay? So the second development, now I am telling the post-Reformation time, the second development was, what is Catholic Counter-Reformation. So Catholic counter reformation it is a part of Catholic counter reformation. Okay, Catholic counter of reformation ഉണ്ടാകാനുള്ള കാരണത്തിൽ ഒന്നാണ് ഈ Council of Trent. It is a meeting. It is a council. So the purpose of this council was reform abuses within the Catholic Church. കാത്തലിക് ചർച്ചിന്റെ അകത്തുള്ള എന്താ പറയുക ദുരുപദേശങ്ങൾ അഥവാ അബ്യൂസസ് ആയിട്ടുള്ള കാര്യങ്ങൾ നീക്കം ചെയ്യുക ഒന്നാമതായിട്ട്. സെക്കൻഡ്, ക്ലാരിഫൈ കാത്തലിക് ഡോക്ട്രിൻസ്. ക്ലാരിഫൈ കാത്തലിക് ഡോക്ട്രിൻസ്. ഡോക്ട്രിൻസ് ദാറ്റ് മീൻസ് അവരുടെ ട്രിക്സ് അല്ലെങ്കിൽ അവരുടെ ഡോക്ട്രിൻ അവർ ഫോളോ ചെയ്യുന്ന ലോസ്. ഓക്കെ, ആ ഡോക്ട്രിൻസിനെ എന്ത് ചെയ്യുക, ക്ലാരിഫൈ ചെയ്യുക. And third one, defend the church against Protestant teachings. Defend the church against Protestant teachings. And another, strengthen church discipline and unity. Strengthen church discipline and unity. Okay. An important decision. What are the decisions they took in the council? Okay, first, authority of the church. The council declared that the Bible and church tradition are both important source of authority. The Pope and church leaders have authority in interpreting scripture. So this much you have to understand. What is the decision they took from this council means, first one, the authority of the church. Who will be authority? Means who will get the authority in the church? So for what they gave the authority? Bible and church tradition. So both have the source, okay, important source of authority. Second decision, salvation. The council thought that salvation comes through faith, good works, God's grace. Okay, and third one, sacraments. Okay, sacraments. The council confirmed the importance of the 7 sacraments of Catholic Church. 7 sacraments. Okay. So the council clarified Catholic doctrines and introduced reform. So the council clarified Catholic doctrines and introduced reforms. Okay. And third one, growth of education. This third one means developments. Now I am telling the development. Okay. Now we are point 1, 2, 3. Third one is, now I am telling only. Okay. So the major post-reformation developments. First one, rise of Protestant churches. Second one, Catholic counter-reformation. So third one, growth of education. Any doubt? Second, Catholic counter-reformation. There only we learn trend of council. Okay, that is finished. So next, third one, growth of education. The third development. Okay, post-reformation time. The development and growth of education. So both Protestant and Catholic promote education after the Reformation. Protestant and Catholic promoted education after the Reformation. So what happened? More schools and universities were established. Bible reading and literacy increased. Christian education became organized. Okay, Christian education became organized. And fourth one, Bible translation and printing was increased. Okay, Bible translation and printing. So Bible was translated to many European languages. Again, printing presses also spread the Christian books and ideas rapidly. So another one, and fifth development is religious conflicts and wars. Religious conflicts and wars. Europe experienced several religious wars between Catholic and Protestant. Europe experienced several religious war between Catholic and Protestant. Okay, that is also happened. Religious conflict and wars. Post-Reformation time, post-Reformation developments. Okay, religious conflicts and wars. Okay, and another thing, rise of religious freedom. Rise of religious freedom. Sixth one, rise of religious freedom. Over time, people began demanding freedom to choose their religion. Okay, result. Greater religious tolerance developed in some parts of Europe. Rise of religious freedom. Rise of religious freedom. Okay, seventh one, missionary expansion. Missionary expansion. After the Reformation, both Protestant and Catholic churches expanded missionary work to Asia, Africa, and America. After the Reformation, both Protestant and Catholic churches expanded missionary work to Asia, Africa, and America. And 8th one, development of modern nation states. Development of modern nation state. The Reformation weakened the political power of the Pope in Europe. Okay, the Reformation weakened the political power of the Pope in Europe. So, we can conclude this unit like I said, the post-Reformation developments brought major religious, educational, and political changes in Europe. Okay, post-Reformation developments brought major religious, education, political changes in Europe. The rise of Protestant churches, Catholic reforms, growth of education, Bible translation, missionary expansion greatly shaped modern Christianity and European society. Okay, so I hope you will got it somehow. I got it. Sorry, I hope it. You got it somehow. I think so. Okay. Anyway, so in this unit we learned about in the medieval period and Reformation period what all the things happened. Okay, in the education system. Okay. Anyway, we will continue in the next class. Okay. Thank you for your cooperation. Thank you. God bless you all. Okay. Bye. Good night.
Okay, thank you, madam. Thank you.
Okay. Good.